Hello engineers. Today what I'd like to show you is how to attach your fins to the rocket body or fuselage. Okay, now there's some very important aspects of doing this that are going to determine your flight path, the path that the rocket travels, as well as the distance that your rocket travels. Okay, let's talk about weight first. We want to use as little of the materials as possible when attaching these so that we keep the weight of the rocket down. The lighter your rocket is, the more efficiently it will use the force that is pushing it, and it'll travel further. The next thing that we want to focus on is making sure that the fins that we place on here are parallel, or they run right through the center line of the plastic fuselage or tube. If a fin is placed on an angle, it will cause the rocket to twist or turn in the air. And although that sounds kind of cool, that takes some of the energy out of the propulsion as well, and so therefore it won't travel as far. Now finally, we want to pay attention to how much distance is between each fin. That needs to be an even amount of space, so it puts even drag around the radius or the circumference of the rocket body tube. If two fins are too close together, what happens is we have additional drag in that section, and your rocket will curve in its flight path, and it makes it very hard to actually predict where it's going to land, which is an important part of this activity. Okay, in order to do this, by now you should have cut out your fuselage or your body tube, and you should have cut out your fins in order to attach them. So we need those two parts. We also need a roll of clear plastic tape and a good pair of scissors. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach our fins to our rocket body tube. In order to do that, the first thing I need to do is determine the contact surface. The contact surface is the surface of the fin that contacts or gets attached to the rocket. Okay, I'm going to take a pencil and I am going to make a nice little mark or an arrow pointing to my contact surface on each one of my three fins. That way I don't get confused during this process and attach the wrong surface as the contact surface. Okay, my next step is to pick up one of my fins, pull out enough tape that it's longer than my contact surface, and what I want to do is attach that tape with just about 1/8 of an inch or less of that tape covering my fin. Okay, so the distance that I'm referring to there, as far as how much is overlapping or coming over the top of the fin, okay? And I don't need a whole lot there, okay? Once again, we want to use as little material as possible, okay? Once I have that done, I can go ahead and cut the rest of that tape off. Okay, cut it off my dispenser. Okay, my next step is to trim the tape. Okay, I only want about 1/8 of an inch to attach to my rocket tube. Okay, so once I have that, I can go ahead and trim the extra tape around the shape here so that I'm only using what I need to in order to attach to my rocket. Okay, nice and neat. All right, next step is to align this parallel with my fuselage. Okay, so I'm going to line this up here, and I'm going to be careful to make sure that that white fin Goes right down the middle of my rocket body tube. Okay, we talked about if we get these misaligned, it will cause the rocket to curve. Okay, so I want that parallel with the center line of the tube. Okay, now you'll notice that once you have that attached on there, that it'll be laying kind of off to the side. Okay, so to correct that problem and to make it stand up correctly, okay, fold it over the opposite direction and press with your thumb about 20 to 30 times. It takes a little while. That plastic tape has to crease underneath the fin, okay, to allow the fin to stand straight up with the rocket tube parallel. Okay, now I've got the first one attached on there. I'm going to go ahead and attach my second one. Okay, we're going to repeat the procedure. Just pull out enough tape, cover just a minimal amount of maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Go ahead and cut it off of the dispenser, and then trim using very little tape. Okay, your next step is to make sure that you space them correctly. If I was going to use just 2 fins, then I would have them directly opposite of each other on the rocket body tube. Remember, that's one of the things that we talked about that you can do. You can use two fins. Okay, but in this case I'm using 3. Okay, so if I look at where halfway or the opposite side is, and then I come and rotate around half again that distance, then I have an approximate area of where to attach my second fin. Press it parallel, fold it over, okay, make sure you crease that tape. Okay, now I've got 2 fins attached, and I can go ahead and attach my third fin, which will go over on this area of the rocket here. Okay, your end result should be your fins all attached parallel with the rocket body tube. They should have an even amount of space between each one of the fins, and we need to ensure that we use as little of the material as possible so our rocket will travel the full distance that the propulsion pushes the rocket. Okay, using that amount of propulsion as efficiently as possible. Okay.